What if I told you that the man you're thinking about right now might already love you?
He won't say it.
He won't spell it out. But if you pay attention, you'll see it, hidden in his actions, in the way he treats you, in the things he does when no one is watching. Because not all men express love with words. Some love in silence. Some love through effort. And some, they don't even realize they love you until it's too late. But here's the problem. Most women miss the signs. They assume if he's not saying, "I love you," then he doesn't feel it. They walk away, thinking he never cared. And he lets her go, not because he wanted to, but because he never knew how to make her stay. But what if you could decode his love before it's too late? What if you could recognize the 5 hidden signs that prove he loves you, even if he's never said the words? Today, we're uncovering those signs, the small things, the quiet moments, the actions that mean more than words ever could. And by the end of this video, you'll never have to second-guess his feelings again. Welcome to Girlify Mind, where we don't settle for confusion. Here, we break down love, attraction, and self-worth with real, no BS insights. No cheap tricks. No toxic games. Just the truth. So before we dive in, hit that like button, drop a comment, and subscribe. Because today, we're revealing the 5 hidden signs he loves you, but won't say it. Let's start. He prioritizes you, even when he doesn't have to. Love isn't always about grand gestures. It's not about expensive gifts or dramatic declarations. Sometimes, the deepest kind of love is hidden in the unnoticed, unspoken moments, the ones that don't demand attention but mean everything. A man who loves you doesn't just make time for you. He makes you a priority, even when it's inconvenient. But here's the thing. He won't always say, "You're the most important person in my life." Instead, he'll show it in ways you might not even notice. He checks in on you, even when he's overwhelmed with work. He makes small sacrifices, whether it's leaving a meeting early to see you or staying up just to hear about your day. He remembers the little things, your coffee order, the song you randomly said you liked, the way you prefer to be comforted. And the most important part? He does these things without expecting anything in return. Because love isn't a transaction. It's not about what he gets from you. It's about who he is with you. A man who truly loves you doesn't just fit you in. He makes space for you. Most men will make time for the things that are easy, convenient, or fun. They'll text when they're bored. They'll call when they have nothing else going on. They'll spend time with you, if it doesn't interfere with their plans. But a man who truly loves you, he prioritizes you, not just when it's easy, but when it actually costs him something. And this is where most women get confused. They think that love has to be loud. That if he's not constantly saying, "I love you," then it must not be real. That if he's not making dramatic romantic gestures, then maybe he doesn't care enough. But the truth? Real love is in the consistency. It's in the fact that he remembers the details, even the ones you forgot you mentioned. Adjusts his schedule, not because he has to, but because he wants to. Make sure you feel safe and cared for without needing a reason. And here's the key difference. A man who's just interested will fit you into his life when it's convenient. A man who truly loves you, he makes space for you no matter what. Love is about effort, not just words. A man who doesn't love you might still text you, take you out, and say nice things. But a man who truly loves you, he prioritizes your needs, not just when it benefits him, but when it matters to you. He checks in, not because he feels obligated, but because he genuinely cares. He makes you feel like you belong in his world, instead of making you feel like an afterthought. Love isn't just about time. It's about effort. If he's showing up, even in the smallest ways, especially when it's inconvenient, that's not just care. That's love. So before you overthink the words he isn't saying, look at his actions. If he's making you a priority, even when he doesn't have to, you already have your answer. His actions speak louder than his words. Some men will say, "I love you 100 times a day," without meaning a single word. Others? They may never say it at all, but they will prove it in ways that words never could. Because love isn't just about what a man says. It's about what he does, especially when no one is watching. It's easy to talk about love. It's easy to make promises, but actions never lie. A man who truly loves you doesn't leave you guessing. Not because he's constantly saying all the right things, but because he proves it over and over again. Consistency separates love from interest. A man who's interested will be exciting, charming. He'll make you feel special when it suits him. But a man who loves you, he is consistent. He doesn't disappear for days and return with excuses. He doesn't act distant one day and overly affectionate the next. He doesn't make promises just to keep you around. Instead, he makes sure you never have to guess where you stand. And that's the difference. A man who loves you doesn't let his emotions decide how he treats you. His love isn't conditional. It's not based on convenience. It's a commitment. Because real love, it doesn't run when things get difficult. It stays. It fights. It protects. Love is proved in the small things. Most women look for love in big, dramatic gestures. The "I can't live without you" speeches. The surprise vacations. The extravagant gifts. But the truth? Real love isn't loud. It's quiet, steady, and consistent. It's in the way he remembers the smallest things about you, without being reminded. It's in the way he makes an effort to understand your emotions, even when you don't say anything. It's in the way he doesn't just listen to your words, he listens to your silences too. A man who loves you doesn't just show up when it's convenient. He shows up when it's hard. When you're sick, he's there, checking in. When you're overwhelmed, he's supporting you in whatever way he can. When life is messy, he doesn't pull away. He holds on tighter. And the biggest test? When things get uncomfortable, when challenges arise, does he disappear? Or does he stay? Because real love doesn't fade when things get tough. It strengthens. A man's true feelings are shown in his effort. You should never have to wonder how a man feels about you. If he truly loves you, he keeps his promises, even the small ones. He shows up, even when it's inconvenient. He looks out for you, not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. A man who truly loves you will make sure you feel safe. Safe to express yourself. Safe to be vulnerable. Safe to trust that he's not going anywhere. Because real love, it's not just about romance. It's about making sure you never feel alone. So if his words and actions don't match, if he says one thing but does another, if he promises the world but leaves you feeling uncertain, then girl, you already have your answer. Because the right man, he won't just say he loves you. He'll make sure you feel it, without a single word. He remembers the details that matter to you. A man who loves you doesn't just listen. He remembers. Not just the big things, your birthday, your favorite color, the way you like your coffee, but the small, almost invisible details. The ones you don't even think he noticed. That random fact you mentioned 3 weeks ago? He brings it up in conversation. That thing you were stressed about? He follows up even after you've moved on. That song you said you loved once? He adds it to his playlist. It's not about being romantic. It's not about impressing you. It's because when a man truly loves you, your world becomes part of his world. Most women expect grand gestures, expensive gifts, long love letters, big declarations. But real love? It's in the effort to remember. Because think about it. How often do you remember something about someone you don't care about? You don't. But when you love someone, you store every little piece of them in your mind, even without trying. The way you smile when you talk about your dreams. The way you bite your lip when you're deep in thought. The way you light up when you talk about something you love. A man in love pays attention, not because he has to, but because he can't help it. And here's where most women make a mistake. They think if he doesn't say it, he doesn't feel it. But ask yourself this. Does he bring up things from past conversations? Does he notice changes in your mood, even when you don't say anything? Does he remember things about you that even you forget? If the answer is yes, then you don't have to question his feelings. Because a man who remembers you in detail is a man who is already in love. He gets jealous, but he won't admit it. He won't say it outright. He won't make a big scene. But pay close attention, and you'll see it, his jealousy. Not in a toxic, possessive way, but in the small, subtle shifts that betray his feelings. His mood changes when another guy gives you attention. He suddenly becomes distant when you mention someone else. He starts asking questions, but in a casual, I don't really care kind of way. But he does care, because a man who feels nothing stays unbothered. But a man who loves you, he'll feel a quiet, unspoken fear, the fear of losing you, even if he tries to hide it. Here's where it gets tricky. Some men are emotionally mature enough to express jealousy in a healthy way. They'll say, I don't like how that guy looked at you, or it bothers me when you talk about your ex so much. But most men, they won't say a word. Instead, they'll act indifferent, brush it off, pretend like it doesn't bother them. But deep down, it does. You'll see it in the way he becomes a little colder, a little quieter, or in the way he suddenly tries harder, texts more, gives you more attention, finds little ways to remind you of what you have with him. And this is what most women miss. They mistake his silence for lack of interest, when in reality, he's just fighting emotions he doesn't know how to express. So, how do you know if he's hiding his jealousy? Watch his body language. Does his posture shift when another guy is around? Notice his tone. Does he sound a little off when you talk about someone else? Pay attention to his actions. Does he suddenly put in more effort after feeling like he has competition? If he does any of these, then guess what? He's already invested in you. Because jealousy isn't just about possessiveness. It's about fear. Fear of losing something that matters. And if you're that something, you already have his heart. He protects you in ways you don't even notice. A man's love isn't always loud. Sometimes, it's hidden in the way he protects you, even when you don't realize it. And no, this isn't just about physical protection. It's about emotional protection, mental protection, protecting your heart. A man who truly loves you doesn't just want to be with you. He wants to keep you safe from hurt, from pain, from anything that could break you. And the best part? He does it without even thinking. It's instinctive. When he walks on the outside of the sidewalk, so you're away from traffic. When he pulls you closer in a crowded place, just to make sure you're okay. When he double checks if you got home safe, even if it's late at night. But protection isn't always about physical danger. A man who truly loves you guards your emotions too. He doesn't let unnecessary drama, careless words, or reckless actions hurt you. Here's how he protects you emotionally. He never plays with your feelings. He won't ignore you for days just to test your patience. He doesn't make you question his intentions. You don't have to decode his actions, because he's clear about what you mean to him. He won't embarrass you. He avoids situations that would make you feel disrespected, whether it's in front of friends, family, or strangers. He listens before reacting. If you're upset, he doesn't shut you down or dismiss your emotions. He tries to understand. He makes sure you feel emotionally safe. You never feel like you have to walk on eggshells around him. And this is what most women miss. Protection isn't just about fighting off threats. It's about making sure he never becomes one. Because a man who truly loves you, he won't let his own actions be the reason you feel hurt. He won't flirt with other women just to get a reaction from you. He won't play mind games and make you doubt where you stand. He won't push you away when you're vulnerable just because he's uncomfortable with emotions. Instead, he protects you by being intentional with his love. And the more you pay attention, the more you'll realize. A man who truly cares about you doesn't just make you happy. He makes sure nothing, not his words, not his actions, not even his mistakes, ever become the reason you feel unsafe in love. So ask yourself, does he handle your emotions with care? Or does he make you feel like you're too much? Does he create unnecessary stress? Or does he try to protect your peace? When something bothers you, does he get defensive? Or does he try to understand? A man who loves you deeply will protect your peace, your emotions, and your heart. Not because you ask him to, but because he can't bear to see you hurt. And that's a love you never have to second guess. Final words, the love you never have to question. If you're waiting for him to say it, stop. Look at how he treats you. Because the realest love,
It's not always spoken.
it's in his consistency. It's in his patience. It's in the way he stays, even when he doesn't have to. A man can say, I love you 100 times and not mean a word of it. But a man who remembers the details, prioritizes you, protects you, and stays even in the hardest moments, that's a man who is already in love. So before you overthink his silence, before you let doubt creep into your mind, before you assume he doesn't care just because he hasn't said it, look at his actions. Because words are easy, but love is what a man does. And the right man? He doesn't need words to prove his love. Comment below. Which of these signs have you noticed in your own life? And don't forget, like, share, and subscribe to Girlify Mind. Because here, we don't chase love. We recognize it.